I still remember the night everything changed. The air in our bedroom felt heavy, almost suffocating, as if it already knew what I was about to discover. My hands trembled as I zipped up my suitcase. Each item I packed, feeling like a piece of my old life slipping away. I was leaving my husband, Mark, after discovering his betrayal. But I had no idea that the real shock was still waiting for me, just outside our bedroom door. You know, people always say you can sense when something is wrong. I used to think that was just a saying, but that night I felt it in my bones. The silence in the house was too loud, the shadows too long. I was angry, yes, but mostly I was heartbroken. I thought I knew Mark. I thought I knew our life, but I was about to find out just how wrong I was. As I zipped up my last bag, I heard voices, soft, urgent, coming from the hallway. Mark was supposed to be alone. My heart pounded. Was he on the phone? Was someone here? I crept closer, my suitcase forgotten, and pressed my ear to the door. That's when I heard it, the words that would change everything. Let me take you back, just for a moment, to how it all began. Mark and I met in college. He was charming, funny, the kind of guy who could light up a room with just a smile. I fell hard and fast. We got married young, full of dreams and promises. For years, I believed we were happy. We built a life together, a house, careers, plans for a family. But looking back, I see the cracks now, the late nights at work, the secretive texts, the way he'd pull away when I tried to get close. I ignored the signs, told myself I was just being paranoid. After all, Mark always had an explanation, always a reason, until the day I found the messages. It was a Tuesday. I was doing laundry when his phone buzzed on the counter. I shouldn't have looked, but something told me to. The messages were clear, flirty, intimate, unmistakable. My world shattered in an instant. I confronted him that night. He denied it, of course, said it was nothing, just a joke, just a friend. But I knew. I saw the truth in his eyes. That's when I decided to leave. I couldn't stay with someone who could lie so easily, who could betray me and then look me in the eye as if nothing had happened. I started packing my things, planning my escape. I thought I was taking control. I thought I was finally free, but I was wrong. Packing up your life is harder than it sounds. Every shirt, every photo, every little trinket felt like a memory I was leaving behind. I tried to be strong, but the tears came anyway. I kept thinking about all the times Mark had promised me forever, all the times I believed him. I was almost done when I heard the voices. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but then I heard Mark's voice, low, urgent, almost angry, and then another voice, softer, a woman's. My heart stopped. Was she here, in our house? I crept to the door, careful not to make a sound. I pressed my ear against the wood. My breath caught in my throat. I could hear them talking, but I couldn't make out the words. I leaned closer, desperate to know what was happening. That's when I heard my name. She's leaving tonight, Mark said. It's all going according to plan. My blood ran cold. What plan? What was he talking about? I felt a wave of fear wash over me. Was this more than just an affair? Was I in danger? I knew I had to find out the truth. I stood there, frozen, listening as Mark and the woman talked in hushed tones. Every word felt like a dagger. She suspects nothing, Mark said. She thinks she's leaving on her own terms. The woman laughed, a cold, sharp sound. You're sure she won't find out? She won't, Mark replied. By the time she realizes, it'll be too late. I felt sick. What were they planning? Was this about money? Our house? Something worse? My mind raced with possibilities. I wanted to burst in, to confront them, but something held me back. I needed to know more. I pressed my ear harder against the door, straining to hear every word. "We'll have everything we need once she's gone," the woman said. "You just have to play your part." Mark sighed. "I know. I just want this to be over." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The man I loved, the man I married, was plotting against me, and I had no idea why, but I was determined to find out. I waited until the voices faded, until I heard the front door close. My hands were shaking as I stepped into the hallway. The house felt different now, colder, emptier, full of secrets. I knew I couldn't leave. Not yet. Not until I knew what Mark was planning. I put my suitcase down and started searching. I checked his office, his drawers, his computer. I found nothing at first, but then, tucked away in a folder on his laptop, I found an email. The subject line made my heart stop. "Final steps." I opened it, my hands trembling. The email was from the woman. Her name was Lisa. She talked about bank accounts, property transfers, legal documents. She talked about making sure I didn't get a penny, about making sure I left with nothing. I felt a surge of anger. This wasn't just about an affair. Mark was trying to ruin me. He wanted to take everything we'd built together and leave me with nothing. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I knew I needed proof. If I confronted Mark now, he'd just lie. He was good at that. I needed something solid, something I could use to protect myself. I started taking photos of the emails, the documents, everything I could find. I backed up his files to a flash drive, just in case. I even recorded a few of his phone calls using an old recorder I found in the closet. Every new piece of evidence made me angrier. How could he do this to me? How could he look me in the eye and pretend everything was fine? But I didn't let the anger control me. I used it. I let it fuel me. I was going to turn the tables on Mark. I was going to make sure he paid for what he'd done. I just needed to be careful. One wrong move, and he'd know I was on to him. For the next few days, I pretended everything was normal. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I even laughed at Mark's jokes. Inside, I was seething, but I knew I had to play my part. Mark seemed nervous, jumpy. He kept checking his phone, making secret calls. I watched him closely, memorizing every move. One night, as we sat in the living room, he turned to me. "So you're really leaving?" he asked, trying to sound casual. I nodded. "I think it's for the best." He looked relieved. "Yeah, maybe it is." I wanted to scream at him, to tell him I knew everything, but I held back. I needed to wait for the right moment. That moment came sooner than I expected. I knew Mark and Lisa were meeting at a cafe downtown. I followed him, keeping my distance. I watched as they sat together, whispering, laughing. I took photos, recorded their conversation from a nearby table. They talked about the plan, how Mark would convince me to leave quietly, how they'd file the paperwork to transfer everything into his name, how they'd celebrate once I was gone. I felt a surge of satisfaction. I had everything I needed. That night, I went home and put my plan into action. I sent copies of the emails, the photos, the recordings to my lawyer. I filed for divorce, freezing our joint accounts before Mark could touch them. I even sent a copy of the evidence to Lisa's husband. Turns out, she was married too. The look on Mark's face when he found out was priceless. Mark tried to deny everything, of course. He yelled, he pleaded, he even tried to blame me. But the evidence was overwhelming. He was exposed, his lies laid bare, for everyone to see. Lisa's husband left her. Mark lost his job when his boss found out about the fraud. Our friends turned their backs on him. He was alone, just like he deserved. I felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, sadness, even a little pity, but mostly I felt free. For the first time in years, I was in control of my own life. I moved out, started fresh. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. I learned to trust myself again, to believe in my own strength. Starting over wasn't easy. There were days when I missed the life I thought I had, days when the loneliness felt overwhelming, but I kept going. I built a new life, one step at a time. I made new friends, found a new job, even started dating again. I learned to laugh, to trust, to love. I realized that I was stronger than I ever knew. Mark tried to reach out a few times, but I ignored him. I didn't need his apologies. I didn't need closure. I had already moved on. Looking back, I'm grateful for what happened. It taught me to stand up for myself, to never settle for less than I deserve. It taught me that sometimes the worst things in life can lead to the best new beginnings. If you're listening to my story, maybe you've been betrayed too. Maybe you've felt the sting of someone you love turning against you. I want you to know you're not alone. You're stronger than you think. Don't let anyone take away your power. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Stand up for yourself. Fight for what's right. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is living well. I was leaving my cheating husband when I heard his secret plan. But in the end, it was me who had the last word.